Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Welcome again to the We Global Football Show with me, Mark, Kyle, and Imran. Big weekend ahead of us. Last weekend before the break, before the World Cup break, I should say. And we've got plenty to talk about, a lot to reflect on, and a lot to look forward to. How you guys doing this evening, man? Good to see you both. What's happening?
Thank you. Good to see you too. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
doing all right. I think we're finally back on track just before the
Beard
World Cup.
coming out there, man. You got a lot of beard coming out there, man. What's going on, man?
Thank you. Thank you.
Doing well in the northern area?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I need it for the winter. It's getting really cold now all of a sudden.
Is it?
So yeah, I think it's about time. But yeah, I think I managed to get down to Anfield for the first time this week as well.
Oh,
First time this
really?
season. Yeah.
Well, first time
So
this season. Yeah.
yeah, Carabao Cup fixture, and it was we left it a bit sharp and
You almost went out. You
Yeah, I
almost
know.
went out. That's what I think you mean to say. You almost went out.
It's typical from Klopp. I think he underestimated Derby and put out too many kids, and we just very nearly got embarrassed.
Yeah, I know a fella in North London that tried that as well and it didn't quite work out. How you doing, Kyle? What's happening, man?
Well, yeah, Liverpool are the only side now left in the Carabao Cup, which is,
It's an easy trophy to win this season, you know.
Well, have you seen who we drew? Who we drew?
Yeah, they do
Well,
shit
you've
in the
got Man
next
City,
round.
but you're pretty used to dusting them off from time to time, so I don't expect that to be a problem.
No one off. Yeah, I agree.
It's exactly. Pep isn't going to take it too serious anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So listen, we are into looking ahead to game week 16. If you're joining us across YouTube or Facebook, welcome. Thank you for watching the show, and share it along to your friends and invite one or two people to come and watch along with us. We like to talk about football. It's a great sport, and we enjoy the Premier League. So we spent some time talking about it. Let's look back on game week 15. It feels like a long time behind us now, but it was a cracking game week.
Very good.
Couple of standout results there. You want to touch any of them there, Imran?
I mean, obviously, I want to look to the big six clash at the bottom, Liverpool v Spurs. We went to Spurs in first half, put in a really good performance across the field, and then second half really grinded out a win, which we haven't done for for the whole season. So it was just nice to be able to mentally get over that hurdle, because it would have been very us this season to concede 90th minute, because Spurs really were piling on the pressure.
I imagine it was quite a tough watch that final half an hour. I was looking at that starting selection from Conte, and I was like, is he serious?
Yeah.
I could not believe what I was seeing. And then all the pundits, all the commentators, the second Kulusevski came on, they were like, oh, this is such a transformation. I was like, oh, really? What a shock this is.
It's because, all he did was put another attacker on. He only had Kane on in the first half, and surprise, you put another attacker on and you become better. You become better at football.
Yeah, you can actually score goals. You can actually threaten the opposition. It does work.
Crazy.
There are a couple of interesting things. Hassan Hutel had his last game against Newcastle. He's now gone. And interestingly, Aston Villa, in fact, never in your lifetime have you witnessed this, the two of you. You would have never seen Villa beat Man United. But it happened in game week 15. And it was the first game for Emery as well, which was great to see. Fantastic result, I thought.
It's the first time I think Ten Hag's bubble's been properly burst in a while, and I think I'll be interested to see how they react on the weekend.
Well, when he gets beaten, he usually concedes about 4. There seems to be a little bit of a trend emerging there, but we can't avoid the reality though, Kyle, that Potter is struggling a little bit. If we're honest, we might talk about him in the fixtures later on, but great win for Arsenal, man. Three great points on the bridge.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the most lethargic I've seen us all season, to be honest. But that's Tuchel ball included. Honestly, it was so slow, so disappointing to watch. To be honest, I wasn't going into the game thinking, this is an easy 3 points, but it didn't really look like we were competing. I saw a comment in post game in some Chelsea comments saying that it didn't really feel like I was watching a derby game.
Really?
It just didn't feel like it at all. I mean, especially in the first half. Goodness me, that was a very dull first half of football. But even in the second half, it just didn't really feel like we were up to fighting for a game at all.
Well, the rumblings are already there, because I've been seeing some people already saying that Potter is out of his depth. He doesn't know what he's doing, and the pot out mutterings are already starting. So
You know what Chelsea fans are like.
Let's see where that goes.
Before we move on, can we just point
Yeah.
out those 3 p.m. kickoffs on the Saturday? It was one of the best
Yeah,
3 p.m. kickoffs that we've ever
Yeah,
seen.
man,
Like,
lots of goals,
so many goals, and I think we had 3 90th minute either equalizers or winners. It was just it was really entertaining.
One of the
It
best
really-
match of
it
days
really,
I've
really
seen
was.
in years, man.
Yeah.
It really was. So let's talk about the question that we've posed then for the show. Liverpool for sale, Imran. Is it actually going to happen, or is it just a little bit of rumor that people are making mischief?
I think this time it's for real. I think based on the sources that have come out with it, and I think even John Henry's they have like their own little tabloid called the Boston Globe.
Henry's had enough.
And yeah, I mean, it makes sense. There's been rumblings of it, and if you look at the way they've operated, they are businessmen at the end of the day. They bought this club for 350 million. It's now worth about 4 billion, 3 to 4 billion, and they realised that Liverpool's now at a time where heavy investment in the squad is needed. So it would make sense that they decided to jump ship now.
Take the money whilst the asset is highly valued.
Exactly, and they don't then the responsibility isn't on them to produce the big rebuild. Exactly that, yeah. And I think it makes a lot of sense, and it does summarize what they're all about, really, just getting their money up.
But what do you think that's going to do to Liverpool for the, because if this rumbles on in the background now for I guess you got the World Cup to come in, and that'll take some of the noise away. But what do you think this will do if it kind of rumbles on throughout the rest of the season?
It will be quite scary if it does rumble on, because we really are in need of investment. And if there's all this talk about takeovers going on, you can't see FSG dipping into their pocket substantially.
It's interesting though, because I don't think anyone is ever going to argue the fact that you're way more successful than we are. But when Abramovich left Chelsea, he was celebrated as a hero. But do you really think it's going to be the same for John Henry?
Well, it depends how long it goes on for. I think if he sells us right now, overall, you would say it's been a positive era, because no matter what, they did save us from bankruptcy and have brought us trophies from stabilising the club. But I'd say from 2019 onwards, the club almost outgrew FSG, if that makes sense. And they could not facilitate the rebuild that was needed, and now we're seeing it
got too big for them.
Yeah, agreed, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. But you can look at the period over which Liverpool has had that Premier League success, and that will always be FSG for now. Mm-hmm. So I think it does feel as though it's probably coming along at the wrong time, though, and you can look at the squad and clearly see the investment is really needed. I think having a bad season because they just haven't put enough depth in, they haven't brought enough youth through, and it does feel as though it's starting to show now. So
it all depends on how long the sell process takes. I think if the sell process takes a while, then it will be a pretty sour ending, because I think that it will be a bit of a messy period of we don't know where we're getting our investment from when it's needed. If they've already got an offer on the table and that's why it's being leaked to the public, then it could be a positive thing and a good refresh for the Liverpool squad.
Well, you know how they like to set these things up. There's an offer that these billionaires who are richer than the sheikhs who own the city and all that nonsense. But I don't believe it. Let's see where it comes. But it's an interesting phase that Liverpool are going into. I think the World Cup has probably come at a good time for Liverpool. I feel because it will be a great distraction. But it isn't going to go anywhere. We'll see what happens come Boxing Day when we all come back. That one isn't going anywhere. Well, this is how it now looks as we head towards game week 16 in our fantasy league. We've this league, man. I mean, geez. What can you say, huh? Top with 907 points and really chasing down, because this is another question we are asking this week as well. Who is the best FPL manager so far? What are your thoughts?
It's crazy. It's just for me sitting there in ninth. We will touch on this in a sec, because of the three of us, I'm the only one that hasn't moved anywhere all week. But there was 50-60 points between 3rd and 11th. Sorry, 12th. Yeah. That's what 8 or 9 places separated by 70 points is nothing at all in FPL.
Mm-hmm.
And for a league this size to still have that closeness between each other, especially in almost halfway through the season now, It's tough, man. It's so tough.
It is hard, but the guys are playing a really competitive league this year. Everybody is paying very close attention to their team every Saturday, it would seem. And all sorts of changes are happening, and it seems to be working.
I do have to make one point though. One thing that we don't really seem to be plugging too much is the progress of Josh Williams there in second. Because even when Adam was top, he was second, and I think he's been second longer than Arjun's been top. Right. So, I mean, credit to him because he's still up there.
Fair player. And I see the usual suspects have started to roar back in the last couple of weeks. Actually, I noticed a couple of jumps there for Paul Thorpe and a couple of jumps for Wayne, who's now kind of wanting to settle in that top four now as we come to the end of the first period of the season, which is quite interesting. You got the only green tick among us, Imran.
Yeah, I think. Well, I cannot find a pattern or a trend of my FPL team this season at all. We'll see
really?
it in the analyzer in a second. But I think it's about time I got a good week. I think I had a good week the week before, but it didn't show in the arrows because I took a -12 hit. So I completely rejuvenated the squad, and I've got a good week this week, which was actually expected to be a bad week because we'll see in the squad later. I had a lot of my players playing against other top 6 sides. But it's went well, and I'm hoping for a very big week this week as well.
You're hoping to finish with a bang.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Well, we'll see about that. Well, I got the only red tick, which is not unusual. But I'm still sitting in the bottom half, but not too far away from the top. But
hanging on.
Listen, there's a long way to go in this league, man. There's a long way to go. You just need one big week and you can be right up in the top 4, as you have proven on quite a few occasions already this season, Imran, right? Yeah. So Arjun, it has been Mr. Consistent, I think, in these first 16 weeks of the fantasy league. Picking up points very, very cleverly every week and really stretching all the others who are running behind him. What did you make of his team in game week 15?
I think for his standards, this was a pretty tame week for him.
Yeah.
But I think he's always got the points from somewhere to trudge him along. I think we see that a large part of why he's doing so well is I think he got into the Newcastle train quite early, and that has really proven good for him. But yeah, poor week overall for example, the Cancelo red card and the Dallo blank.
He is bang on the average there because I think 53 was the average score this week.
Yeah, right. So, bad week keeps him average.
When you're the level of Arjun, you're not really expecting to be bang on the average. But
but that's the first milestone every week, isn't it? The first milestone every week has to be at least the average.
Yeah.
Because if you're below the average, everybody else above you are pulling away by some distance. So hitting the average is not such a bad thing, even though for him, 53 points is quite marginal, really, because he's been scoring in the high 60s and 70s for some time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought his performance in the first period, because this is a rich season. It feels like you're saying the first half, but actually we haven't even played half of the season yet. Right? First period of the season. I think he probably is our most consistent manager.
Yeah,
along with Wayne Skeet, I think, and we'll see that in a moment. So if we we'd love to have a little bit of competition between us, and guys in the chat, if you want to drop a question on anything about Fantasy League, feel free to do so. We'll have a little bit of competition between us, and over the course of the first 16 weeks of the league, Imran has really struggled to hold along this top spot between the three of us. But look, there you go, man.
I mean, it's about time. I think it always happens where I've been doing well, and then the week before a show, I just absolutely flop it. And to be fair, I was expecting that to happen again, because when you look at the team, I've gone heavy on Liverpool. So Darwin, Salah, Konate, they all had to face Spurs away. Saliba, White, and Saka, so 3 Arsenal players who all had to face Chelsea away. So I was thinking that maybe this might be a week where I'll trudge along to the average. But in fact, the 2 teams that I backed ended up winning, and especially I stuck with Mo Salah, which a lot of people haven't done, and he proved his good. It
just
proved
the
his
sound
worth
of his name.
Proved his worth with 2 really well taken goals, and that helped me a lot.
It's interesting because Had I had done team of the week this week, I would absolutely put Kanate in there because he had an absolutely incredible game.
Really good.
But it's
really
just one
good.
of those. Yep, just 2 points in fantasy Premier League.
Yeah, I
it's
know.
crazy,
quite
isn't
annoying.
it? Just how you can have such an amazing game and then all FPL goes is 90 minutes. Well done, mate. Good participation. It's crazy.
There's a lot of conversation happening around FPL with Haaland and what how Pep is frustrating all the fantasy managers with his selection, because people don't know if he's going to play or if he's going to come off the bench, but a lot of people are banking on him to be in their team, but it get to 11 o'clock on a Saturday, you feel like, hang on, he's not in the team.
Well, even then, he was on the bench and he technically scored 2 goals, but one was disallowed.
He was offside.
Rightfully so, by the way. But like to come off the bench and score twice is still an incredible feat, by the way.
That penalty, crazy. By the way, that penalty was awful. I don't know what the keeper is doing. I think it was.
I was about to say. I thought you were on about the decision. Yeah, Leno. It was Leno in goal.
Was awful as well, but Leno in goal. He did not hit that well, and Leno just let it in, which is annoying.
Yeah,
but
he's just letting him score. Just letting him score. Well, you pick your captain quite well, I have to say, in game week 15.
About time.
Yes, it is. The week that I decide to get rid, you know what happens? He decides to go and put 2 in the back of the net. I went with a slightly different strategy in game week 15. So I decided to, put Ivan Toney on the bench, drop Haaland because there was too much uncertainty. Went with Kane, who I don't know what's going on there, but Conte said this week, he's very tired. He's very tired. Yeah, he's very tired. He's not scoring enough goals, but he's still got 11 at this point anyway. Yeah. So I bought him in. Jesus, I'm going to have to see what happens after the World Cup. He made great contributions to the team, but that's not why I got him in my fantasy league for.
It's weird because he plays as one of your best central attacking midfielders, but he's not a central attacking midfielder.
He's not in my fantasy league for that. He's my team to score goals.
He had an absolutely horrible miss against Chelsea. Goodness me.
Oh my word, man.
Terrible.
So I went 5 across the middle in game week 15 with De Bruyne as my captain because I think he's always pretty solid. He seems to be the most consistent selection from Pep. So went with him. Saka, Rashford seemed to be hitting form. Eze, I didn't get him right because Zaha is the person who actually got the 2 goals. So I felt quite confident with where I was going, but just below the average with 52 points in game week 15. So I'm okay with that. So, well then, Kyle.
Yep, continuing the trend of being second out of the 3 of us by 1 point.
Well,
pulling up the rear. Thing is with me is for the entire week, it was really my decision was really do I captain Haaland or Almirón? And I went with Haaland instinctively, and he did end up coming off the bench, and he did end up scoring, so it wasn't too big a waste. But you're back. It's just the usual decision with the Pep roulette because Foden is having the
Pep roulette. Is that what you call it?
And the second I bring Foden into my team, he plays once and hasn't played since. And so, it's so frustrating, man. It is so to think that it's inevitable that Haaland is going to bag your points, but Foden comes off the bench, and as good a playmaker as he is, you don't know if he's going to, fully commit.
Mm-hmm. He's the one player that you just know Pep is just going to rotate in.
For no reason.
Every single time.
There's no incentive.
Every time
to drop him. It's unbelievable. But I didn't have too bad a week, to be honest. It wasn't a terrible week. And to be honest, probably one of the first weeks where none of us have really had a bad week. But
yeah, man, but 50 points is not getting me where I need to be. I need to be in the 60s and the 70s consistently every week. Lewis Dunk seemed to be a defender this season who is going a little bit unnoticed as well.
But half of my squad seemed to be going unnoticed, but then I don't shut up about it. So I end up, just forfeiting all of the little secret gems in my team. So
really.
It started with Sanchez in game week 1, where I had him on my bench for 4 weeks, and Alisson decided to, not get any clean sheets while Sanchez was the best keeper in the league. Since then, just gem after gem.
But Duncan Brighton a really doing quite well, I think.
Yeah.
Since Potter's gone, it's like they've really got a point to prove, and they've gone one way and he's going the next. But it's great. It's
just my luck,
really
because
good.
I had both Dunk and Veltman, but then Veltman got injured, so I brought in Dallo, and then Dallo got suspended. So so ridiculous, really.
This guy here, right, is a Man United fan.
All right.
Hi, Shat. How you doing, man? Listen, we brought back the analyzer this week deliberately because it's the last week before the World Cup, right? So we absolutely have to say something about this. And the first thing that I would say is I'm consistent. I'm in the black. And I'm consistent. I might be consistent across the bottom, right? But I don't care. I am consistent.
Tell you what, you are very much just between 20th and 23rd.
Okay. So you've made your point.
I mean, it's interesting that you only move between 3 positions on the table.
Yeah.
Well, you can see Imran there has hopped around from the beginning of the season, from the bottom right up to the top, drop back down to the bottom, and he's having one of those. In fact, this is the second time that you've hit the mid table all season. So but we know that next week, come tomorrow next week, you'll be heading back down, because that is usually your performance trend.
The trajectory hopefully is back up to the top, and then after the World Cup break,
but you don't sustain that. Those are little one-offs.
After the World Cup break, hopefully then we stabilize ourselves from the top if I have a good week this weekend.
Really?
Yeah, and that's the plan. I think that's why I did it, because I completely rejuvenated my squad last week, knowing that there's 3 games until the World Cup, and then after the World Cup, obviously you get a wild card, completely free transfers. So I'm hoping that I can propel myself to the top part of this weekend, and then rejuvenate the squad to make it solid, and we go again second half.
That was my exact thinking 2 weeks ago. So you're not the only one.
Well, I'm just gonna wait for the World Cup to come and go, and then I'll take my wild card and go again. End of the story.
Fair enough.
Kyle, you've been quite consistent. You haven't hit the bottom half of the table at all in the first 15 weeks, which is pretty good, actually.
Yeah, like the lowest I've actually been is 15th, and even then I don't think that, because it was like 38 people in our league. So I mean, at one point it was 36 for a while, and I think we've had 2 more people join. But yeah, like I haven't really been in the bottom half, which is pretty impressive. But then I'm sat there between 8th and 11th just all the time, and like there's such small margin. I'm 1 point off like 8th, and like I just can't get there at all.
But if you'd offered me 8th or 9th, the before we had the World Cup break, I would have taken that happily.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Don't complain.
I'm not complaining.
And of course, the goal that we've got going across the top guys is our champion from last season, Wayne Skeet, who you can see why he's the champion of the league. Missed the consistency, but only on one part of the table, just at the top half, and he's having a little bit of a surge now in the last couple of weeks as well. He's kind of raising his game.
Yeah, I think just this is like setting up to be a really classic push for a title. If he just manages to maintain this, and you can just see in the last few weeks him pulling away, and it would be a really this analyzer will show how good of a champion he is if he manages to
absolutely. So the analyzer has been being put to bed for the time being until the league returns, but it has certainly told the story of how we have been playing over the first 15 weeks. Let's talk about game of the week from game week 15 then. What a cracker this was, huh?
Yeah,
this is a game and a half. One of the games of the season, actually.
100%. And I have to say, young Somerville reminds me, Kyle, of what Raheem Sterling used to be.
How far back are you going? Like, are you saying Liverpool Sterling?
Somerville reminds me of what Raheem Sterling used to be. That guy looked so lost at Chelsea, man. I mean,
it's not working out there at all, is it?
But no, it's not. But this game, Leeds came into this having done a job on you at Anfield, Imran.
Yeah, but they were still under a lot of pressure.
Oh yeah.
It was really interesting watching on Match of the Day, because Marsh made an interesting comment about how obviously it was like 2-1 at half time, and because Leeds were under so much pressure, the fans booed them at half time.
Yeah,
and that does nothing to you mentally.
2-1 down at half time.
The manager, the players, the staff, nothing.
Just at Anfield as well. Like, what on earth?
You know what I mean? and to come back from that and win the game.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, they came up after the break. I went 3-1 down.
Yeah.
and like immediately too. Like it doesn't do anything for you mentally. And they like fair play to them for doing that. Because
there's something special in that lead squad, man. And I
they're
have
a very
to say,
young team as well.
Yeah, whenever they're on, I like to watch them, man, because they're playing some fantastic. They still got the Beelzebub, I think, because they haven't really changed their style, have they?
Yeah, they're still quite full throttle.
Yeah, full throttle, counter attacking, quick on the break, and very open. So all the games that they're playing will have goals. But I love to watch Leeds, and I think this was a classic performance, and perhaps these two games, might be the two games that actually turned their season around completely when you look back on it over the course of the whole season. Liverpool and Bournemouth. So, but that I think is a game that has gone down in folklore. That one, really fantastic game.
It's interesting as well because like we said with the Spurs game, just how like ridiculous Spurs style of play is. Leeds are playing Spurs this weekend, and it's going to be interesting how those two styles of play, they basically mirror each other. Like one just attack, and the other is I don't know what attacking is, and it's going to be interesting to see how they pair up against each other.
Yeah, well, we wait and see. But this was one for the annals, that one. And we have to talk about this guy, man, because in truth, back at the beginning of the season, you would not have been really saying that Almirón is going to be one of the stars of the show in the first half of the season.
It's just,
what's happened?
I think it's just one of the main examples in football of how big confidence is in a player. I think.
Oh wow, yeah.
The first two years of his career at Newcastle was just an absolute shell of himself. He's always worked hard, and the Newcastle fans appreciated that. But everybody regarded him as that player that's just not very good. He's a bit out of his depth, and that's well, that's why Grealish's comments went a bit viral. And he was the token player where you're like that is a poor attacker, Almirón. And then this season he's just got a burst of life into him with Newcastle doing well. He scored his first goal, and then he just hasn't stopped since then. It's like a different player.
What's interesting with Almirón as well is that quite a lot of his goals are absolutely spectacular. Yeah, like he's not scoring, so some fair enough, like not necessarily tap-ins, but goals that you can just accept as fair play. That's a good team goal. A lot of his goals are absolutely incredible, and as you said, it just come down to that confidence that just even try it, let alone when it goes in. Like it's absolutely incredible. Some of the goals.
It's weird because what you'd put it down to before was the fact that he seems a bit too skinny for the league. But it's not even like he's bulked up or anything. He's still the same player. It's just that he's just got a breath of fresh air into
It's Jack Grealish, man. It's the Grealish effect. I don't know why. Up to now, I don't know why he hasn't, worn those white shirts. The way always me. I don't know why he hasn't yet put on a Grealish. Are you watching over?
He's saving it for the Etihad.
I imagine that would be the best thing, man. Oh my gosh, that'd be incredible.
It would be. Honestly.
Actually down in history.
That is a moment waiting to happen, man, and it would be fantastic. But you've got to say, on the back of his form and the consistency of Newcastle, who again have been very, very quietly going about it in the league so far, up to third. And when the new owners came in last season, people felt, well, let's see what's going to happen here, man. And then, of course, we had the managerial appointment, and Trippier came in, and it was like, well, they don't seem to be looking to make those big marquee signs. And of course, Newcastle is a difficult place to go to. Yeah. So, however, with all of that,
they're so ahead of schedule.
They are.
I mean, it's interesting, thinking even right now, because I remember the day of the Champions League final last year. I remember we went to watch it at a Liverpool fans' house, and it was me in the garden with those two Liverpool fans, and we were speaking about the Newcastle takeover. And then naturally the conversation progressed. So top 4 next season. I was saying, realistically, there's no way Newcastle aren't getting top 6 or top 7 next season. And one of them started laughing at me, and I was like, no, seriously, mate. There's no way Newcastle aren't getting top 6 or top 7 next season, and we're here. And even as a Chelsea fan,
well, look, I'll tell you something. If the form at the beginning of this season continues throughout, what the top four will look like at the end of this season is going to be very upsetting to a couple of clubs and you know. So, but let's see. But yeah, Almirón is in cracking form. Again, another one where the break has probably come at the wrong time because he's doing so well. So we've done the 6 that we looked at the beginning of October. You know, as I said to you guys back at the beginning of October, if Arsenal get through October, you know, without losing any games, we will know exactly where they are. And now we know where they are. Top of the table, man.
Very much title contender.
And deservedly so. I feel quite pleased about where we've got to with our results in October, because October was hard for us. It was really, really difficult games. So having come through Liverpool and having come through Nottingham Forest, who knocked us out of the FA Cup last season, and having come through Chelsea at the end there, I'm good. I'm good, man. I'm good.
I do have to ask that. How do you think you as a side played against Chelsea? Because I know we were terrible, but like, what's your verdict on the...
I felt we did well. It was a game away from home at the Bridge. We've had mixed games at the Bridge over the years, but to be honest, Chelsea is quite a difficult place for Arsenal, and because our confidence can be a little bit brittle, especially in these London derbies. You know, Spurs and you know, if you look at the London derby with us in Spurs now, you notice that we win at home and they win at their place. So going away from home, I think for Arsenal is difficult. And we can often be very good at the Emirates, but traveling can be hard. And I thought we played well against Chelsea. I felt it was a game that showed you how far the side has come. They look confident. They do look really, really confident. They're working hard, and you can see that there's something special happening at the club at the moment. But I'm trying to temper my excitement. Only 16 games in, man. Come on. But we did well, and I was very, very happy with that. So at the end of October, with 34 points and heading towards the World Cup, top of the league, I'm delighted. I cannot complain about it at all. So over to you, and I apologize that I have draw at the bottom of your 4-1 there, because actually no, it wasn't a draw.
The big loss.
There was no need for that little.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it is slightly concerning where we are both as a club, in the table, as a team. And I mean, we had the conversation at the beginning of the season how the World Cup is gonna be interesting in terms of post World Cup, see how the teams fare. But I'm fairly concerned, actually. I think Imran's probably the most comfortable in terms of World Cup, because I don't know how many Liverpool players he's got going to the World Cup, which isn't a dig, by the way, at all. It's just
that's a dig. That's a dig, man. That's a dig.
It's just like
how many players
he should be very, very comfortable looking at like especially the run of games that he's got post World Cup as well, man. Liverpool are looking like quite a dangerous side, but I can't say the same for us. It's quite concerning, both the squad that we have. I don't know. Because you look at the amount of injuries that we're having pre-World Cup, and I guess it's because of the amount that are before. I guess it's quite easy to just dismiss the during, but there's going to be a lot of injuries during the World Cup as well, and that's what it's scaring me a bit. And then you come post-World, because I don't know what's the gap between the final or even the semis, because obviously there's only going to be 2 teams in the final.
Well,
so the gap between the semis and Boxing Day.
Well, there's a 5-day gap between. Well, I think the finals on the 18th of December, and then on the 21st, or 3 days later, the Carabao Cup next round is being played.
Really?
So that's mental. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then about 4 days after that is the first week of Boxing Day football.
Oh my god.
So let me ask you though, what's your opinion of Potter and how it has gone so far?
Well, I think the one game that really sums up Potter at Chelsea is the game against United, because the team selection for that game kind of went under the radar because of how he responded, but the team selection was not a good team selection at all, and it was obvious because of how just dominated we were in the first half an hour of that game. And the thing is, the difference in that game and the Arsenal game is that the United side that we were playing weren't actually that good. But we made them look like prime Barcelona. And then, you know, we changed our midfield up and kind of changed the game. But even then, the one problem we've had since Potter came isn't really down to Potter. It's just that we can't finish, man. We cannot finish.
Man,
at
that
all.
number 9 at Chelsea's cursed.
Even in the Carabao Cup against City the other day, we didn't actually play that badly. But man, some of the chances that we finished were absolutely woeful.
Well,
It's like when you play in school and you play a perfect pass into one of your friends and he just puts it wide and you're like, how have you managed? It's easier to miss. It's easier to score than it is to miss. I don't know how on earth you've missed that, but that was the summary of the game on Wednesday against City. But it's been a trend. Go ahead. Yeah, it's just been a trend in the last couple of games where like it's not the chances that we aren't creating, it's just that we do create the chances and we can't finish them.
But do you think that he is going to make it to the end of the season?
Oh,
yeah. Well, the way it's good because this Newcastle side have kind of changed really because no one expected Newcastle to do as well as they are, and it's changed the top 4 race. Mm-hmm. Liverpool aren't doing as well, so you would love to say that essentially Newcastle have just replaced Liverpool in the top 4 race, but they haven't. And Arsenal have done way better than anyone expected them to. And so
don't worry about us, man. We good. We good.
I
I think a bit of panic might set in at Chelsea if
the top 4 was always well, essentially it comes back to what I said on the day of the Tuchel sacking, is that our aims for the season shouldn't really have changed. It was top 4, a decent run in the Champions League, and get into the final and at least the FA and the Carabao Cup. We've already been knocked out of the Carabao Cup. The FA Cup's looking a bit, we managed, fair play. We're actually playing quite well in the Champions League, but we're sat there in 7th, and we've got Newcastle play over the weekend. And if we lose that game, then I can't tell you where we'll be. I just said, we've got the post-World Cup to worry about. So
I can't see the American owners being very enthusiastic with Potter if they can look over the horizon and see they might miss out on Champions League next season. I think they'll panic.
Yeah.
So I'll wait and see. But I think they'll.
The question then comes is, when do you get rid?
Well, he'll be gone in January, February sometime, surely. You
look at Chelsea, like we spent like, what was it, 300 in the transfer window just to get rid of Tuchel, and we've clearly proven that we are the kind of club that will back Potter in the window and then just get rid of him the day after.
Yeah,
of course. That's what Chelsea are all about.
Craziness.
But I don't know how much longer he's going to be laughing, because as we said at the top of the show, FSG are looking to sell, and
but
it's reflected in the results.
I think unless it's a very, very controversial owner, I think in terms of stability will be okay. For the rest of the season at least. And I think Klopp's reaffirmed that no matter who takes over, he's happy to stay regardless. So a bit of a more positive week in the last week. And although that October does not show for a pretty month for us, but I think we're back on track finally again. But I will still happily welcome the World Cup break to restabilize, get a few injured players back, especially Diaz. I'm not sure about Jota because, well, I think he might have a bad
Thiago
injury.
is not going to the World Cup.
He hasn't made the squad.
I think there's been Luis Enrique has never really favoured him. I think he has he sticks to his favourites quite a lot, and it baffles my mind, to be honest with you. I think
it's great for you, though, mate. He's your best midfielder.
Yeah, it's great for me because he would undoubtedly have got
He's not having a good season, let's be honest. He's not having that good a season.
He's been good when he played.
None of Liverpool's midfield really are having an incredible
exactly. So why should he be chosen? Pick players who are in form, who are playing well.
He's 100% better than what they've taken. 100%. But that's a discussion for. Luckily, we don't have to debate the Spanish squad. We'll debate the English squad later. But yeah, I think hopefully get the 3 points against a Southampton that I've got a new manager at Anfield. But with this season, it will be very us to go and lose it. But take the 3 points and recoup.
Have they got a new manager? Or they're just using their caretaker.
They've got a new manager, Nathan Jones from Luton.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
First game, new manager bounce.
Yeah, it's scary, but
I was about to say it's at Anfield, but we did say this about 3 shows ago.
Oh, come on, that's finished now. That's gone. That's gone now. Leeds have shown.
Leeds have destroyed your Anfield.
Yeah.
I think Virgil is still someplace crying, isn't he?
His head is still in the World Cup. I think it's actually an important thing to note that this week's fixtures could be really interesting in terms of players taking it
Let's
a bit
bring
easy.
them up, man.
Yeah, I think
This is it. Absolutely, I can see
like
that
I
happening.
said with the Pep Roulette, even if he does start Foden, no offense to him, but Foden's absolutely that kind of player who'll be right now. I'm just going to pull out that tackle for the sake of the World Cup because you know he's just that kind of guy, and we're going to see that a lot this weekend.
This is probably going to be the worst weekend to play as a professional.
Yeah,
your name is on the sheet. You know you're on the plane. And you know somebody left a late one on you on Friday evening.
I'm calling an Ivan Toney hat trick at the Etihad. I'm calling it like it's bound to happen.
Now you know that some of these guys are not going to be trying this weekend, but we've gone for Newcastle against you, Chelsea against you, Kyle. As they want to watch this weekend.
Absolutely.
You nervous?
Like, well, I mean, if we lose that, because the game in hand against Liverpool still hasn't been played. And so if we lose against Newcastle and we lose against Liverpool, we could genuinely see ourselves in the bottom half of the table.
Yeah.
So, like, I've got absolutely justified to be nervous here. Because, like, the way Newcastle are going, like, genuinely actually could be quite a bad game in terms of goals. I am quite worried.
Oh yeah, and I'm looking forward to that. I think there's going to be a good game. I think Leeds at Spurs is going to be a cracker as well. I think Leeds can turn them over, you know, because Spurs are too ponderous, man. But you know, we'll see. But I expect that will be a pretty tasty game. Palace have started to win away from home, which is really good because you know Vieira is getting them to play a really good brand of football now, and they're starting to pick up points on the road. So Palace at Forest should be another exciting fixture, I think.
The two Sunday games are interesting with Brighton, who are flying right now, and Villa with Emery. And then I think Fulham could actually upset Man United. They are a really good
Mitrovic, he's out.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
All right. Is it suspension or?
I don't know. He seemed to be picking up these niggles now and all.
He got a red flag this morning. Yeah, I checked my FPL. Just because I brought him in.
Get him out quick.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how an informed Brighton take on a recently winning Villa.
I think somebody's making a comment here about your coach, Kyle. So when you hire coaches who are, to me, not sure what he's doing.
Mate, look at that table. Brighton are like up there in fourth. You can't tell me that he doesn't know what he's doing when he's got that Brighton side higher than.
But he's not at Brighton.
Does he have a clear plan with Chelsea? I think is the point.
Too much experimenting, man. He's playing too much experimenting.
That's exactly what it is. But I think at the same time, I think the way these players, if we'd scored the chances we created, I think we would be having an entirely different conversation. Right. Because the problem isn't the chances. We're playing decent football. We're just not finishing. The thing is, I know you want to chip in about Aubameyang. I know you want to chip in.
Me, I'm not wanting to say anything about Aubameyang. Not at all. Not at all. We saw him off. In fact, I saw him put that in the show. We saw him off at the bridge.
The thing is, like, we're creating these chances for all of our forwards, whether it be Aubameyang, Sterling, Havertz, whoever it may be. We're just not finishing, and it is really, really frustrating.
Yeah, in
Havertz is the worst for that. It really bugs me.
In fairness to Potter, it is not his squad. Chelsea have hemorrhaged cash on some absolute crap players. I won't even lie to you. They've Aubameyang being one of them. They have spent so poorly. And so Potter does need to have at least January to maybe try and get some of his influence in, and then we can properly judge, because like their midfield and attacking options really are not good right now.
I mean, I have to ask you, because I guess my opinion is slightly biased. Cucurella is now falling into the Chelsea trap, where half of the fans are saying the guy has to go. He's the worst signing since 2000. And the other half are going, this guy is one of the best replacements for Chilwell ever. This is fantastic. I'm glad we bought him. What is your opinion on him as a player? Because
I think
it really is splitting the fan base.
Pretty sure he was my flop of the season.
But he was your flop of the season because you didn't think Chilwell was going to be injured, and then Chilwell got injured. So
yeah, well, I think
he's also like 60 million or something.
I did factor that in. The fact that he's 60 mil, he doesn't bring you anything special that 60 mil provides. But I do think that he is a very good squad player to have. And once Potter does get his team in, like I said, we've seen how well he played under Potter at Brighton. And I think once you've got that squad sorted, I think he might even play left centre back for Chelsea, which is what he did under Potter as well.
Okay, I just read that comment there about our midfield. Like, listen, I am absolutely roasting Jorginho every week, but he's actually probably having his best season at Chelsea in terms of chances created. What I do have to say, though, and I'm in that football chat with Imran, I literally say this every time we play, Kovacic has to start.
Yeah.
How you drop a player like Kovacic is absolutely... I said this for Tuchel as well, man. Like, dropping a player like Kovacic is unreal. And I think now Chelsea fans are screaming Zakaria from the hilltops because he scored the other day in the Champions League. So we'll see.
We will see. Oh, yeah, we will see what happens when Newcastle
selection.
Slam another 4 past you tomorrow up at St. James's Park. We'll be watching that for sure. Look, before we talk about England, let's talk about where we, the table is obviously going to get updated tomorrow, but as you can see from game week 15, Arsenal is still top of the table, followed by City with Newcastle, perhaps the surprise package of the season. Chelsea down into 7th.
Leicester up to 14th.
Liverpool, they've had a little bit of a resurgence, Leicester.
Danny Ward out here playing like Victor Valdez, like 5 clean sheets in a row. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, we're talking about social media bounce backs. Like, I know we're saying that for Almirón, but Danny Ward is another one because he was getting slated left, right, and centre on social media. But I don't even know what it is. Like,
they've bounced back quite well though, Leicester. Fair play to Brendan Rodgers. He seemed to have switched it around a little bit. Everton hovering over the relegation zone as usual.
West Ham still down there.
Yeah, boys can't get any wins, man. And we're gonna see how this finishes tomorrow and Sunday when the league goes on a bit of a pause.
Yeah.
But of course it is going on a pause because here comes the World Cup, first in Qatar. And I know where you two are. You're not Gareth Southgate fans and all that nonsense. But let's first of all hear what you have to say about the squad that he has selected.
I mean, you can start us off, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, like me and Imran were waiting for this all week, really. I mean, the second it came in, the first thing we both said was looking at the forward selection. We were shocked at that. I mean, we were pretty in agreement because what we tend to do, we do this all the time, really. The second there's an international break, the two of us are like, okay, so what is that?
You just look for opinions to late, Gareth Southgate.
We tend to agree mostly, but the one thing we disagreed on, really, even before the teams were announced, were our striker selections. Because I was surprised that anyone was really considering Callum Wilson.
What?
My top three, because realistically, the argument that we were having is Kane is obviously your number one.
Yeah.
And
Tony should be second,
100%. The conversation that we were having is, does your second striker...
Tony's got no England pedigree, man. Come on.
Is your second striker an England backup? Sorry, is he a Kane backup? A backup to Kane? A similar Kane player? Or do you want a player that plays nothing like Kane? And that, for me, was Tony versus Tammy Abraham. And Callum Wilson was never in my conversation. But I think Callum Wilson was I think Imran rated Callum Wilson higher than Tammy. And I was like, fair play. But then the announcement came out and just Tony wasn't in squad. And Tony was number 2 for both of us, and he was like, that is an unbelievable selection.
It's just
Imran came out with the point that he is probably one of the best penalty takers in the world. And if you're not going to take him for any other reason, take him for that, surely. Yeah. You know what England are like with their penalties.
Look, I don't have a problem with Callum Wilson being this one. He is in form and he is in a confident side at the moment.
Me neither. The problem wasn't with Wilson.
I don't have a problem with that.
My problem was never with Wilson. I'm happy that Wilson's in the squad. He's a top striker, but Tony should be the second choice for England.
So who are you going to leave out? Who are you going to leave out of the strikers the forwards that he's chosen?
Even Tony's fourth in the Golden Boot at the moment.
I agree with that because I don't think Grealish should be. I don't think Grealish should be anywhere near.
Grealish should not be on that plane.
I don't think he should be anywhere near this one. That I agree with. 100%.
He's barely playing, and when he does play, he's been really poor. He doesn't bring anything that Rashford doesn't. That Rashford doesn't bring, and Foden's there as well. You've got plenty of options, and I think Tony would have made a lot more sense to bring as a direct
replacement. I don't know, man. That comment is a weird one because I think Rashford going to play up front?
Well, he shouldn't. He should
That's
be
the
left
thing.
wing
'Cause
back.
I would rather
wide.
in
Rashford's
international
gonna play it wide.
football, I'd rather play Grealish left wing over Rashford.
No chance. No chance.
Come on, man.
Grealish
Like the
is
way it's going.
Poor. Grealish is poor
It's
right now.
such a slower game. I think Grealish.
Listen,
like we had this
Grealish does not
conversation last.
contribute anything.
It's one of those.
in the games
It's
that
one
I
of those
see him
players
playing.
that just can look world class in international football because of how slow it is.
Well, he
So-
can look
so-
world class, but Rashford has been world class in the Premier League this season. For a lot of it, he's scored in some very big games, and he looks back to his best. He's got that
He looks
burst
good.
again.
He looks good. So
Yeah, but
so beyond Tony for Grealish, you broadly think that James Maddison actually is a good selection. I think.
Yeah,
I was quite shocked at Gallagher. To be fair, I was not expecting.
I don't know how I was going to come to the
Yeah.
midfielders, but just to square off the forwards.
yeah.
Right.
Is that the only issue that you've got with the forwards that he's taking?
Yeah,
I think so.
I think so. Same, but I can't see Maddison. Everybody's happy that he's picked, but I can't see him getting much game time, especially if we play the 5 at the back. I just do not see where he fits in.
Do you think we'll play 5 at the back?
With Southgate, you never know. He doesn't have a set structure, so that's half the problem.
Man, the two of you are too critical of Southgate. Southgate has given you two the best England performance of a generation: a semi-final in the World Cup and a final at the Euros. What more you want, man? Come on.
Wins.
So midfield, then I was shocked that Gallagher made the team. To be fair, I don't think he's done enough.
Gallagher and Phillips.
I don't mind Phillips.
Well,
I think-
actually, if we're looking at Phillips, surely Gallagher should go ahead of Phillips because Phillips is barely.
We know Phillips is the better player, but Phillips is
absolutely
paid
100%.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
20
Phillips is the
minutes of
better
Premier
player
League
for
football.
sure, but Gallagher has proved himself this season more than Phillips.
Where Southgate might come under a lot of pressure is that Phillips is not completely fit, but he's gambling on him being fit. But the reason he's taking the gamble is because Phillips has proven that he's a very, very good player.
I think the reason he's taking the gamble is because we don't really have any other players to select.
England's weakest area is the midfield, no doubt.
It's light. It's very, very light.
Yeah, the depth wasn't great. So I'm not too mad at Gallagher because, I mean, you could have argued Loftus-Cheek or Dewsbury Hall, but either way, it's not a great caliber of player, and you know that it's going to be Rice and Bellingham and Phillips maybe if he's fit enough that will be going to be starting.
No place for Jadon Sancho.
Rightly so. I think if Sancho was in that forward lineup, then I would really be arguing that because he did not. I think even Grealish deserves it over Sancho, but yeah, I think rightly so. Sancho doesn't deserve to be in there.
Well, I'm going to nail my colors to the mast straight away with the defenders. Your boy Trent is extremely lucky to be in this squad, I feel.
Well, no, I think Trent should always be on the plane. But
Trent is a mistake waiting to happen. Man.
Watch him get.
I thought Trent was world class, once upon a time.
Trent is world class.
My boy can't defend, man.
He has had a poor half season, but he is world class. You don't be part of the defenses that he's been part of and be a liability.
Man, he's being exposed, man.
I think for me, I think the story of Trent this season will be exactly the same with the World Cup in the sense that he's probably going to get burnt by someone.
He's not going to play. He's not going to play, Carl. Southgate's never trusted him. Even when Trent was at the top game, Southgate could not get the best out of him, which just shows he's a poor manager.
Or he'll play him at left back.
Or yeah, something like that. But yeah, I mean, we can talk about some of the centre back choices in that defence with Cody, Dyer, Maguire.
What's your take on Tomori not going? Because I mean, again, this is my Chelsea bias saying Tomori should have gone. But
I think Tomori.
He wasn't amazing in the 2 games. Well, 1 game because he did get sent off. The 1 game we played in the Champions League against AC Milan, he wasn't incredible. But I still think he's a lot better than some of the names here.
Well, I think Tomori has become overrated. I can't even lie because what happens is when English players go to foreign leagues. Because we see so little of them, we only see the good part. That's why you thought that Tammy was having a good season. He's having an awful season.
Yes.
He's statistically one of the worst strikers in Europe, but you had no idea, did you, Carl? Because because they're not in the Premier League, you don't see as much scrutiny on them. They're just living their life in Italy. They're doing their thing. So I think Tomori had become slightly overstated. He is a good player, and I would probably have him over Cody and Dyer, but I still would not have him starting over Stones or Ben White.
Well, Ben White has done quite well, I think, to make the team, and he's again, it's all about form and confidence. 3 keepers, you happy?
Yeah, you can't really go wrong. I think maybe Dean Henderson, but it will be Pickford heading up.
That's the order I would have him in as well. That 3, like Pickford.
Nah.
Yeah, man, come on.
Nah, I don't think so. Pope had a little bit of a horror show in the last time he showed up for England, but anyway, we'll see.
I'd probably have Ramsdale just above Pope, but yeah,
I think so. I think so. So we know that the first game is against Iran, and whilst you guys can't seem to agree on forwards, let's see if we can pick this. Who's the strongest 11, as you two like to say? Who is starting for you? Who's
first of all, I would 100% go 4 at the back instead of 5.
But we'll assume that it's 5 for the purposes of this.
Yeah,
really?
Fine. Let's assume he's playing some wing backs, man.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay.
So we're going to be in agreement that Pickford's in goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pickford, okay. Pick.
You could argue Ramsdale, but yeah, Pickford because he's done it for England in the past.
Yeah.
Pickford has not let England down. He's the number one choice.
Okay.
Yes,
I'm going to go a bit controversial because
you're going three centre backs.
Yeah, but we were 3 centre backs. A bit controversial, but based on that same mentality and that same thought that they've done it for England before, especially in major tournaments, I would still go Maguire on the left, partnered with Stones and White.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What do you think about that, Kyle?
I think the only
Maguire on the left, Stones and White.
Thing is, okay, I gotta ask you this though, man. In terms of substitutes, do you bring on Cody or Dyer?
Neither. Walker. I do not want to see Cody or Dyer play in a World Cup ring. I do not rate either of them.
So who's completing your 5?
I think right wing back on form you'll go Trippier because Trent's not in the best headspace right now. I still think Trent is the better player than Trippier, but you can go Trippier, and then on the left there's only one left back, which is Shaw.
Interesting.
Any thoughts? Any disagreement?
I can't really fault that, to be honest. I think we have this conversation all the time. Really, is that one of Southgate's biggest problems when it comes to team selection for like 25s is that he always picks more than he needs to for one side of the pitch.
Yeah,
I don't know why he does that. You can see the problem here. If anything happens to Shaw in this tournament,
it'll have to be Trippier awkwardly at left wing back and Trent on the right then.
No, you saw it. You didn't really see it because Trippier was actually very, very good in the Euros, but Trippier at left back was quite suspect in the Euros.
Yeah,
he was.
It's just not natural. It's just not natural for him.
Yeah, he was still very, very good. To be fair, it spoke to the quality of player that he is, but you could still see that he was. Yeah,
I think because he's having such a good season, and again, it's about confidence.
Yeah.
He will start ahead of Trent on
Agreed,
that right wing back position. So 2 in the middle.
I think nobody can disagree with Declan Rice, and then it's about Bellingham or Phillips, maybe Henderson, but for me it would be Bellingham.
The conversation you had after the last international break was whether Bellingham because as good a player he is, you asked the question does he work in a double pivot? I couldn't really answer that because I don't watch much of him.
Yeah. I don't think it suits him perfectly, but I'm saying this based on the other options that are there. I would have Bellingham and Henderson over Phillips, but I don't rate Phillips that highly. But especially now that he's not fit, but I think it has to be Rice and Bellingham for now.
I don't think Phillips will start.
Yeah,
I would be very surprised if he gets anywhere near a start within the first 2 group games. But yeah, I think Bellingham for sure, and Rice is another one who seems to be pretty solid for England. Yeah. So again, I would probably expect him to be in there. And the 3 at the top?
I think, for no doubt, Kane, of course.
Yeah, he picks himself.
Saka has tied down that right wing position, in my opinion.
Yep.
And on the left side is the one that you could probably debate the most between Rashford, Sterling, and Foden. Personally, I change a lot between Sterling and Rashford. I'm gonna stick with Sterling, even though he's had a poor season.
No, I'm gonna go with Rashford.
The thing.
Fair enough.
I would actually go with Foden, but
oh my gosh, we're all in.
I think we said this in the show that it's players that play differently when it comes to international. Foden is a weird player when it comes to international football. He's not as consistent as he is for club, which is strange because you would think on paper that he'd be considerably better. But
so why have you picked him?
Huh?
So why have you picked him?
I just think he's a better left winger than the other two, especially on form. There's no way I'm picking Sterling over Foden.
Yeah, but I think
I don't think
it's the only reason that you would is international experience.
I think Sterling plays really well with Kane, and the way he played last year was that front three worked very well. I'd happily say Rashford as well, just for that those two runners in behind. I think Foden doesn't work because he's not as good of a runner in behind as the other two.
Right. You saw that when he played right wing.
You almost get the impression that Southgate probably will stick with that front three though.
Yeah, that's what I think as well.
Saka, Kane, and Sterling, precisely because of the chemistry that they've had previously. Exactly. But this is a different tournament. True. You know, players are in different form and they different headspace. I mean, I like that. I like the shout for Foden actually, and I think Foden does give you a different dimension, and he's very tricky. And very intelligent player.
I think Foden would suit us better if we were playing a 4-2-3-1 or something like that, or like
that's exactly my thought. Like
in a 5, I think the wingers have to be very direct, especially with Kane up front. So someone that can facilitate that, and I think Sterling and Rashford suit that a lot better than Foden does.
I think if you start a 4-2-3-1, it's a no-brainer that Foden plays in that camp.
Agreed, yeah.
And then you have the. I think of the two, I'd probably go Sterling over Rashford, and then Saka's he's absolutely solidified that right wing well.
Yeah.
So you don't have long to wait now anyway. So we're talking next Sunday, and you know the games are going to come thick and fast. You know, 4 games a day for a couple days anyway.
Yeah.
You know, and then it all fizzles out into the round of 16, quarterfinals, semis, and into the final. So it's the end of the Premier League for a season. And I'm sure you guys are looking forward to this one, no doubt.
It's going to be something like nothing like we've ever experienced before, and it will be very interesting to see how it plays out. I think it is really taxing on the players, and I'm very happy. Carl mentioned it earlier that we are lucky that not a lot of our players are going. We only have, I think, 7, and of that 7, I think only 3 or 4 are guaranteed starters in Alisson, Nunez, and Virgil van Dijk. So I think.
Say though, like. What's the news on Sadio Mane?
He is in the squad and he is going, even though he's not fit.
That opening game against Holland is gonna do your heart a bit, isn't it? Like...
I mean, well, I love him, but I won't be as mad if he gets injured because, of course, it wouldn't affect Liverpool. But I don't think he'll make the first game. I think they'll take it easy and let him play the other two.
That was my thought.
Yeah. They've got to put him up against Van Dijk, man. Come on, surely.
That'd be good, yeah.
That's what we want to see.
Of course. Of course. So we are looking forward to that with great excitement and expectation. So we are out of the Premier League. We are heading towards game week 16 with these fixtures that are coming up this weekend. And we have a little bit of a pause from the football show as we enjoy the World Cup. But we're going to do a World Cup show. I'm sure we're going to do a World Cup show at some point and get one in there and see how the tournament is shaping up. I know you boys are looking for Messi to win a tournament in your lifetime, you know, but us real Argentina fans know the great Diego. This has been the football show with me, Mark, Imran, and Kyle. Thank you so much for joining us and spending a little bit of time with us this evening on the chat about football. We will catch you on the next one. Until next time, over and out.
Bye.
See ya.